There's a number that still feels heavy when I say it out loud. $60,000. That's how much debt Emily and I had. We were carrying at one point early in our marriage. And when people hear that we paid it off in 7 months, they usually jump to one of these conclusions. Either, oh, you must have gotten lucky, or you must have done something extreme that most people can never do, or you did something illegal. The truth is, none of those options are accurate. What actually changed our financial life wasn't some secret trick. It was the decision, and then a system that supported that decision long enough for it to work. But before I tell you how we did it, I want to tell you what it felt like before we started. Because if you're sitting in debt right now, this part will probably sound familiar. Debt usually doesn't show up all at once. It creeps in, decision by decision. A student loan here, a car payment there, a line of credit you promise yourself is temporary, a credit card that slowly becomes normal. And then one day, you look at the total and think, how on earth did we get here? For us, it wasn't chaos. It wasn't reckless spending. It was normal life layered on top of normal life without a system underneath it. We were paying the bills. We were making the minimum payments. We were technically fine. But emotionally, we were exhausted. Every month felt like pressure. Every unexpected expense felt like a threat. Every conversation about money felt heavier than it needed to be. And what made it worse was this quiet belief in the back of my mind. This is just what adulthood feels like. At some point, that belief stopped sitting right with me. Debt isn't just costing people money. It's costing them peace. It's costing them options. It's costing them margin. And eventually, Emily and I had a very honest conversation. We could keep living like this, or we can draw a hard line and change it. That was the decision. Not let's try a little harder, not let's see if this gets better, but we're done carrying this. Now, here's the important part. The decision mattered, but the decision alone didn't pay off a single dollar. What mattered was how we supported that decision. The first thing we did was stop pretending the numbers weren't that bad. We put everything on the table, every balance, every interest rate, every payment, not to shame ourselves, not to spiral, just to see reality clearly. Because you cannot lead what you refuse to look at. Once we had clarity, we made the first real shift. We stopped treating debt payoff like a side project, and we started treating it like the priority of that season. And that meant saying no to things that weren't wrong. They just weren't aligned. This wasn't forever, but it was focused. Then came the part people always want to skip. We chose one strategy and committed to it. Not 5, not whatever felt good that month. One sole strategy. For us, that meant stacking our debts in a way that built momentum. Yes, the math matters, but psychology matters more than most people admit. Seeing balances disappear changes how heavy the journey feels. Progress fuels consistency, and consistency is what actually pays off debt. Then we did something that felt small at the time, but it turned out to be massive. We automated everything we could, whether it was payments, transfers, savings, not because we're disciplined people, but because we actually know ourselves. We didn't want our future to depend on how motivated we felt on a Tuesday. Automation removed emotion from the process. And emotion is usually what derails people, whether it's in their finance, fitness, family. Emotion takes us off track. There were months where it wasn't fun, months where it felt tight, months where we wondered if we were pushing too hard. But something interesting started happening. The numbers started moving. The balances started dropping. Momentum was starting to be built. And with it, something shifted internally. Money stopped feeling like a constant threat. It stopped dominating every mental conversation. It stopped stealing energy. Instead of asking, how do we survive this month? We started asking, what does life look like when this is gone? We had hope back in our lives. 7 months later, the last payment went through. And I honestly wish I could tell you it felt dramatic. It didn't. It felt quiet. It felt like relief, lightness, clarity. And then something unexpected: confidence, not arrogance, not pride, confidence in our ability to decide to do something hard and follow through. That confidence carried forward into everything else: our savings, our investing, our approach to risk, our long-term planning, our family, our friends. So here's what I want you to hear if you're in debt right now. Paying off $60,000 in debt in 7 months wasn't about intensity. It was about alignment. We aligned our decisions, our systems, and our season. Debt payoff works when the goal is clear, the plan is simple, the system removes emotion, and the timeline is realistic for your life. This episode isn't meant to make you feel behind. It's meant to remind you that momentum is possible. Maybe your number isn't 60,000. Maybe your timeline isn't 7 months. That's okay. The question isn't, how fast can I do this? The real question is, what needs to change so it actually sticks? Because debt freedom isn't about proving something. It's about creating margin. Margin for peace, margin for opportunity, margin for the life you actually want to build. So here's your simple takeaway this week. Get clear. Pick a direction, build a system that supports it, and commit long enough for momentum to show up. Because debt doesn't disappear by accident, but freedom gets built every day on purpose. If this episode helped you, share this with someone who's feeling stuck right now. And do me a favor, go to my website, thecurrencyofhappiness.com, and on there is a free goal setting framework. This is the exact same framework that Emily and I use to hit every single one of our goals, including paying off debt. You can find that at thecurrencyofhappiness.com, and make sure to hit subscribe.